Hello everyone, my name is Kiana and I will be presenting on how instructional coaching with technology enhances athletic performance. I know that sounds kind of complicated, but I promise that by the end of the presentation, it'll be a lot more clear as to where I'm going with this presentation. I'd like you to take a look at this classroom and kind of look at all the aspects of the classroom. Look at the professor who is teaching the students, which is the professor's subject, and the classroom setting where they're at. This is where they're learning. This is how they are planning on getting their information. Now, this is very similar. Coaches are just like teachers to their students, and the students are actually the athletes. And these athletes, they all learn in their classroom setting, which would be in a locker room or on their field, court, wherever they may be. Now, throughout my presentation, you are probably going to see that there's a theme of football and obviously of sports. And the reason why I chose this is because I know oftentimes people say that girls cannot be interested in sports because they're for guys, but I have always been surrounded by sports. My brothers have played football, although they are my little brothers and look like my big brothers. They have played football for pretty much my whole life, watching them. And my dad played football, and I've just been surrounded by football forever. So that's why I chose this topic, and that's why, although there are tons of other sports, I plan on using the theme of football for this presentation. Now, what is instructional coaching? Well, the traditional instructional coaching, according to the Pennsylvania Institute of Instructional Coaching, is someone whose chief professional responsibility is to bring evidence-based practice into classrooms by working with teachers and school leaders. However, traditional coaching and instructional coaching actually coincide with one another whenever you talk about teaching your athletes as well as learning from them. When you learn from instructional coaches and in the classroom or in the setting of the field or the court, they all have the common goal of success within the student and motivating them and showing them how to become successful. All of these players have one thing in common. They all are athletes. They're all trying to reach the goal of making it and being successful in the sport that they choose. But in order to do that, they still need to have somebody to guide them and lead them in the right direction. And that is where instructional coaching takes place. My friend, Larry Rose III, plays for the New Mexico State football team, and although I know that our football team is not the best, he has actually led in great strides for New Mexico State, and just to make this catch is a huge deal, and in order to do that, there's a lot of things that come into being an athlete, and it's just like a school of their own. Learning something just like plays is a very big deal for a lot of athletes because it starts off on paper and then it begins to translate into something that is presented by their coaches on the chalkboard and ends up on the field in the end. Although these are X's and O's, oftentimes they turn into something much bigger. They turn into different positions. It's much more complicated than a lot of people think. There's your quarterback, running back, defensive end, tight end, wide receiver, and the list can go on. And as athletes begin to learn their own playbook, which is their notes in class, they also need to learn how to translate those onto the field. In order to execute these plays, it's very important for the athletes to learn all of these plays, learn how to execute them, learn how to do them, and with instructional coaching, they can learn how to do so. A lot of things that athletes do is they learn by their visual aids and watching film after, not only to learn about themselves, but to learn about how they react with others. And this actually helps them perform in a much better way. Many of these plays and a lot of the athletes can use instructional coaching to not only look at their own flaws, but correct them and use the technology to come together either as a team or as an individual and see what kind of things they can work on to become better players. Though this form of instructional coaching has been seen more in an educational setting, there are also systems of instruction which are recreational, athletic, and professional, which add to the educational instruction. These actually can help with the side of education because as you're learning through different tools like iPads, and you can draw on the plays and see what kind of angles, although this is a basketball photo, you can see what kind of angle this person needs to be able to make the basket, and that is true within many of the works in any kind of sport. Any athlete can use them. In learning about these visual aids and learning how to utilize them on the field and on the court, you'll know how to use them within your body, and it'll make you a better athlete in the end. Terry Bradshaw once said, "What's the worst thing that can happen to a quarterback? He loses his confidence." But I think that this is also true for any athlete. And within instructional coaching, if you are able to correct those mistakes, you will be a more confident athlete. And this will actually allow you to become more successful whenever you're more confident and willing to learn. And these are my references.